evening and welcome in to a Monday Huddle. I'm Bruce Hooley along with Sonny Fulks back from sunny Texas talking OSU baseball, I'm sure, and a lot of other things tonight as we have regional boys and state girls to talk about. And if everything goes according to the optimal plan of the week, you will have 21 basketball games covered by PressProsMagazine.com this week, and you won't pay for any of them, because all the content is free at Press Pros. Welcome back, Mr. Fulks. Did you get a championship belt from the Frisco Classic?
No, but that was one heck of a belt. I did get, to check that thing out before they presented it to the Buckeyes last night. That's Hulk Hogan stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they do things in Texas. Everything is bigger and better and more
ostentatious.
Ostentatious, and they certainly. There was no trophy. There's just this enormous belt that they gave Bill Mosiello and the Buckeyes, and I think it surprised Bill. I don't think he knew what to do with it either. But
yeah, he didn't look totally comfortable with it. But
no, he didn't look good.
I know they're happy to get wins over Mississippi State and Oklahoma. We will talk about that. We will talk about our teams that are in the state girls basketball tournament. We have a presence in Division IV. And in Division I, we have a lot of teams left in the boys, and they will keep us hopping this week, and we're looking forward to that starting tomorrow night. We've got two different locations, two different regionals with D4 teams in them. We'll be going through that. But first, we could not make this show happen tonight, at least on Mr. Fulks' end, without our friends at Skynet Internet Services. They make it all possible. They make it happen, and they can make rural internet happen for you.
Mm-hmm. And if they'll find you and they'll fix you, that it's something I said a couple of weeks ago that enthralled you so greatly. And all you got to do is call in Miami County 773-0098 at Skynet in downtown Piqua. That's 937 area code. Call, and Craig Grissom will answer the phone, and they'll fix you up. If you've got bad rural Wi-Fi, which I have at my house, or I had at my house, they will find and they will fix it for you. And the nice thing is they answer the phone. When you call there, they're going to get back to you. If they don't answer, they're going to get back to you, and you will hear from the principals themselves. That's Mike Grissom and Craig Grissom at Skynet Rural Internet in Piqua. Give them a call, 773-0098. There are more options if you're out in the country than just satellite internet, and they'll explain them to you. Anyway, our appreciation for them for housing me here tonight in the opulent digs in downtown Piqua.
Yes, and first social media message of the night comes from Justin Subler. I assume that's how you say that, and he says, "Let's go Jackson Center Tigers." Jackson Center waylaid Cincinnati College Prep in the district finals at UD Arena. They were down 16-8 and proceeded to reel off a 40-8 rally, which made the score 48 to 24. Quite a run by Jackson Center. They cut the CCPA press to shreds, and that advances them to the regional round, where tomorrow night at 5:30 at Trent Arena in Kettering, they will play Patriot Prep from Columbus. Patriot Prep. I was looking at Patriot Prep scores. They're 16-ish and 4-ish, somewhere in there. The game they played against teams from around here that people might know, they played Mechanicsburg out of the Ohio Heritage Conference in their first round tournament game, and they beat Mechanicsburg by 11. Mechanicsburg won one game this year. So I don't know, maybe Patriot Prep played a lot of kids on the bench. Maybe they were out 20, 30 points in that game and subbed in. I do not know how that transpired, but I know Jackson Center has to be feeling really good after the game that they had the other night against Cincinnati College Prep.
Well, I feel a little bit out of the loop as far as area basketball goes, only by necessity for the fact of traveling with Ohio State baseball for the last couple of weekends. And but I will say this: when I have been back in town, I have seen enough of it, and I've been watching the scores. I think it's going to be very interesting. Tomorrow night, there are some real displays of style tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wrote to me today or said to me today something about good versus evil, about can you score versus teams that are saying, and Justin Subler knows this very well. Jackson Center is one of those teams that says you are not going to score on us,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's going to be there'll be a contrast in style tomorrow night when I see Marion Local play a team at Patrick Henry up in Bowling Green tomorrow night. And Patrick Henry literally held Antwerp, the team that beat Marion Local in the regionals last year at Bowling Green. They held them to 22 points in the district final last week.
Wow.
Patrick Henry. They beat them 35-22. And
Do they hold the ball? Do we know anything about how they do that?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you a full report tomorrow night in my column because I don't know. I've never seen Patrick. I've seen Patrick Henry play football. I've never seen him in baseball. Good sports legacy there in Hamler, Ohio. But I haven't seen him play basketball, and I am interested to see. They must be one kind of basketball team playing 7 to keep somebody at 20 points for the game. So, but this is happening a lot. I've been following it, talking to some people in Southern Ohio. Southern Ohio prides themselves in Division III and Division IV basketball for being able to score, and nobody is scoring. In fact, somebody here, and I've got this. We always end the show, but with letters from to press pros to the reader speaks of somebody saying, "How come nobody can score?" And they've been watching us over here, Justin. They've been checking out Jackson Center because of the number 2 ranked team in the state, and these have been veteran basketball fans, and they want to know what's going on and how come nobody can score. So we'll talk about that a little later on, but you're going to find out when you play Scott Elkert. Rule number 1, number 2, number 3, if you want to play there, and this is no recent phenomenon for the 20 years that he's been at Jackson Center, they play defense. You can ask Anna, you can ask Fort Laramie, you can ask Russia, you can ask Houston, you can watch everybody that they play up there in the Shelby County League. You're just not going to ring it up the scoreboard against them when you play Scott Elkert.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other night before they tipped off against Cincinnati College Prep, I was chatting with someone who has seen Jackson Center play probably more than I have, but not a whole lot more than I have. And I said, it's hard to tell when you're looking at teams warming up who's got the advantage. And he said, all I know is it's pretty hard to beat that guy over there on the bench. And sure enough, when the score was 16-8, Scott Elkert made an adjustment in that he moved his guards from the wings. He moved them into the elbow of the free throw line. And they started entering the ball from the point to the elbow at the free throw line. And Cincinnati College Prep was playing in your face, bodying defense. And so they were right up on the Jackson Center guards when they got the ball at the elbow. And the Jackson Center guards were too quick for them. They spun out of the coverage, drove down the lane, either scored themselves or created a 2-on-1 mismatch and dished it off. And that is where Jackson Center took off on that 40-8 run. So that was an excellent coaching move by Scott Elkert. That's, I'm sure he would say, attributable to the scouting that his assistants do, and they do a great job. Because when you don't see teams, and they didn't see Cincinnati College Prep, against any common opponents, nor will they have seen, most likely, Patriot Prep against any common opponents. You have to go off what your assistant coaches say and have answers and counters, and Jackson Center certainly passed that test in their opener. The second game on Tuesday night at Kettering's Trent Arena is Troy Christian and Russia. And I didn't look up whether they played during the regular season.
They did.
Okay.
They did.
And?
Russia beat them by about 20 points back in December. We were at that game. In fact, if you want to, you can go back in the archives and read my column about that particular game. But that was a totally different Troy Christian team than what you're going to see now. The emergence of Alex Free, the emergence of their big man inside.
Yeah, Frank Rupnick.
Frank Rupnick. Those two kids are light years ahead of where they were and how they played back in December. And again, I'm not ashamed to say this. I think they have the best guard I have seen this year in Parker Penrod. Now, there'll be people who say he can't do this, he can't do that. Parker Penrod never turns the ball over I don't mean never literally,
Yeah,
but he takes care of the ball.
rarely.
He is a great shooter, takes good shots. If he goes to the free throw line at the end of the game with the game on the line, he wins. So he's got the basics down, and he's got the rudiments uh, that they impress uh, at Troy Christian the way they play basketball down there. He's done a great job, and of course they've got one of the best coaches in Ray Zawatsky Jr. in anywhere in Ohio. So that's a totally different team, and I know that the Russia people are very wary of tomorrow night because Spencer Cardonier would tell you that, hey, look, we had to make severe adjustments to play them back in December. And I remember him saying we were trying to play them in the open court and we couldn't. We had to pack it in and literally tell them, you're going to have to shoot over the top of us to win because they could not physically stay up with Parker Penrod. And I do remember some of the kids from Russia saying to me, man, who is that guy? Because he can play. So that's going to be a really good matchup tomorrow night. Two very good basketball teams and two teams not afraid to score. The one thing about Russia is they love to get out and run, score in transition. They love to create the turnovers. They may get 12, 15 turnovers on a typical night and 12, 15 points in transition off those turnovers. I'm not sure that'll happen tomorrow night, but it's going to be check and checkmate tomorrow night in that particular game because those are two well coached teams, two kids with great character in their players, and two great basketball communities as well. The Russia people will show up in force at Trent tomorrow night. See how many people Troy Christian brings.
Yeah, and obviously this is a game that has additional intrigue attached to it because of the very embraceable story that is the Russia Raiders this year. They're playing for their late head coach, Dave Borchers. Dave, through no fault of his own, was a victim of a car accident in the summertime, and his kids are playing hard for him. I think it's quite a tribute that Russia continues to list him as their head coach. His brother Doug cut the last snip of the net down when they won their district championship. So it's a great game, and I think it'll be a high-scoring game. And the winner of that game will get the winner of Jackson Center and Patriot Prep. That game will be Friday night at 7 o'clock at Trent Arena. Marion local Patrick Henry, which you already talked about, 6 p.m. tip at Bowling Green tomorrow night. That also regional final would be Friday night at the Stroh Center at BG at 7 o'clock. Let's go to Wednesday, where we have Division III games at Trent Arena, two of them. Tri-Village will take on Harvest Prep. That's a matchup of a state championship game from a few years back, is it not?
Yes, it is. And, of course, we're a whole different cast of characters now. But Harvest Prep is always an interesting a team to play because you don't know where the players come from.
Yeah.
And they refute that. And they were suspended, I think, a few years ago by the OHSAA for recruiting violations. But you never know who you're playing when you play Harvest Prep. So I just remember them, I think, from 2014 or 15 when Tri-Village beat them in the Division IV final game. One of the great remembrances I have of state tournament basketball when Colton Linkus hit the turnaround shot from the top of the key with no time on the clock to beat them. And Harvest Prep had come back from like a 15-point deficit in the first half and had whittled that thing down, ruined the lead, and it was nip and tuck at the end, and Lincoln hit that shot, and the place went bonkers. That's when people actually came to the Schottenstein Center to see the state tournament because there was 10,000 people there probably that day and watched it, and it was an unbelievable finish and an unbelievable moment for Division IV basketball and the community of New Madison, Ohio, and Tri-Village.
Well, I know Josh Sagister would like to see a repeat of that. He'll take a win any way he can get it. Justin Finkbein was big, literally and figuratively for Tri-Village in their win the other night over Greenview. They will get the winner of the second game that night, Preble Shawnee, which plays right there in the WOAC, correct, with Tri-Village.
Right.
And they will take on Miami East. East was number one in the polls for a while. They eked out their district championship win. Miami East has great guard play and a lot of good role players, and we'll see how that one breaks down. Preble Shawnee and Miami East, your second regional semifinal in Division III on Wednesday night at Trent Arena. Also that night, we have a Division I regional semifinal at Ohio Dominican between Olentangy Orange and Newark. And Olentangy Orange is coached by Anthony Kalo. The following night, on Thursday night, Anthony Kalo's dad, Ed Kalo, will coach Westerville South against the defending state champion Pickerington Central. It's odd to me they play those games on different nights. And then we'll play Saturday night, not at Ohio Dominican. They will play Saturday night's regional final in Athens at the Convocation Center. There were complaints last year that Ohio Dominican's gym was not big enough to host a Division I regional final. They had some fans who wanted to get in and could not, so they'll move. I'm sure that's why they play the semis on separate nights, and they will play that regional final in Division I in Columbus on Saturday night at the Convocation Center. That'll be a day full of basketball, which we'll talk about that lineup at OU a little bit later on here. But yeah, Orange and Newark, Olentangy Orange getting it done. And that's a game that our Steve Blackledge will be covering. So let's move to Thursday. I talked about Westerville South and Pick Central. We'll also have in Division, I want to say 2, Watterson playing against Chaminade Julienne, the Michigan commit by way of Ohio State. George Washington and Chaminade Julienne, that's an 8 o'clock tip. And Reedy, number 1 in the state in Division II, they will play Zanesville-Maysville at 6 p.m. That one is in Athens. And also Thursday night at 8, we will have the Tri-Village girls in the state semifinals, 8 o'clock tip against the team that beat them the last time they were in the state semifinals in 2012 with head coach Brad Gray. That's also a rematch. They'll play Berlin-Highland. Highland got the better of them in 2012. 11 years later, Brad Gray and his 3 senior lineup of Morgan Hunt, Tori Richards, and Riley Sagaster hope to flip that script.
I remember that game from 2012. It was very, very physical, and Tri-Village just simply was not prepared for that. And there were some people who felt very bitterly about the fact that the officials just let the Tri-Village girls get roughed up. But you know, you and I talked about this yearly at this time of year.
Yes, we do.
Suddenly, the calls that are foul in December, January, February, suddenly no longer now. It's no harm, no foul, and it's about advantage. And it's they refute that. They say it isn't so. But I'm here
That's
to
ridiculous.
say that nobody sees more basketball than I do. You do. And pay closer attention. As an ex-official, I could not officiate high school basketball today because, frankly, everybody would either have 4 fouls by halftime and would have to make that adjustment, or it's just the way basketball used to be called, and it's not called that way anymore. And so I just remember that game from 2012. And they get a shot to get back there this time, and I'm very interested to see. First of all, shooters shoot. To this issue about officiating. Riley Sagaster is a shooter. I know there's people watching this tonight from Tri-Village. Riley Sagaster is the best 3-point shooter in girls basketball in the state of Ohio. And
I'm not sure you need the word girls in there. She hit 2 shots against Fort Laramie. I got them on video. And I know people think I'm exaggerating when I wrote that she hit one 4 feet behind the line and another one 6 feet behind the line. I'm not exaggerating. She was.
I've seen her do that for a couple or 3 years. She's got phenomenal range. Yeah. I'm just interested to see if she's allowed to shoot.
Yeah.
At the state tournament, if she gets roughed up and there's no call, that's an issue.
Yeah.
That is an issue because she shot the basketball uninhibited like that all season long. If somebody wants to guard her at 19 feet, okay. But I'm willing to shoot her to 25. Are you willing to come out there and guard me at 25? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to pay attention to. And I'm sure, given what I remember from that 2012 game, the Tri-Village people are going to remember, and they're going to pay very close attention.
Yeah, that's the thing I think is hard for people to grasp when you see a scouting report and you hear you have to guard her 2 steps beyond the 3-point line. That's one thing to read it on a paper, But when you're out there and you're judging that distance spatially and you see how far behind the line she is, and you just think there's just no chance anybody's going to shoot that shot out there. And she shoots it and she makes it. And that's what made the difference in the win over Fort Loramie. Fort Loramie fought very gamely. They lost Avery Brandewie early in the game, an unfortunate freak accident. One of the girls from Kennedy Hager from Tri-Village lost her balance and fell into Avery Brandewie's leg, and you could see it happen at the time. She just fell at the wrong angle, and it caved Avery's left knee in. She could not continue. That takes Fort Loramie's leading scorer, leading rebounder out of the game. They continued to fight. They're never going to give in. No Carlos Eagle team is. They came back, got the lead. It seesawed. It was not great offensive basketball, but it was tenacious, hard-nosed basketball. And, you know, at the end of that game, missed free throw, Loramie gets off a 3-point heave from about 30 feet, and that sucker was halfway down and rattled out, or we'd be talking about Carlos Eagle chasing her 4th state championship this weekend.
Yeah. Well, again, I said this 10 minutes ago, you're going to see some contrast of styles. You're going to see some contrast of athletes throughout this entire week. And we haven't even talked that much about the Columbus region and some of the Division I talent we'll see. The big school talent will that Blackie will write about over there. But over here, I just made the case for Troy Christian. I made the case you can make a case for Miami East. You can talk about Russia. You can talk about Jackson Center. There's a lot of reason for people to come out and pack the place for these regional games this week, because if it ain't good basketball before now, that's going to be now you're bringing in all these other teams and all these other styles and all these other athletes. And I always believe this. There is something to be said for fear of the unknown, for guys that you've never played before, you've never been on the court with. They're just something that either add or subtracts from a given team on a given night. We saw this happen last year with Waverly in the state finals. That's a very, very good basketball team from down on 23 in Southern Ohio, and they were just totally out of their element at UD Arena, because I think, for lack of anything else, their pep band played better than the basketball team did that night, because they just were unfamiliar with the way that the team played that beat them. So there's always that chance that you're going to find somebody that throws you for a loop, that you don't have a good scouting report on. You've never seen them in person. All you've seen is in film. And that's a little bit different than knowing the teams as well as they know each other in the MAC and the Shelby County League.
Yeah, so let's switch to Thursday night's games. I already got those. Sorry. Let's go to Friday night's games. We're back at the state tournament at UD Arena. It's actually not a night game. It's 11 o'clock tip. We mentioned Afrocentric against Wheelersburg because Afrocentric is the team that beat Versailles on Saturday in the Division III regional finals at Springfield. I've seen Afrocentric in years where they have D1 talent. I don't see D1 talent on that team this year. I don't think they are the juggernaut that they have been. Versailles gave them a hard battle. Versailles toughed out its win in the regional semis. So congratulations to Tracy White and the Versailles Tigers, and they'll have they lose. I think it's Lexi Magato is their only senior, so they will be back. A hardworking group. They've got height. They've got ball handling. They didn't shoot it well the night I saw them, but they toughed it out. So they led Afrocentric for a while on Saturday, but just could not pull that off. So Afrocentric plays Wheelersburg at 11 a.m. Then up the road at Trent Arena in Kettering, that'll be your regional final in Division IV. The Jackson Center Patriot Prep winner against the Troy Christian Russia winner. Marion Local would play in its regional final at Bowling Green Stroh Center, 7 o'clock that night, assuming the Flyers get past Patrick Henry in their semifinal on Tuesday night. And then back at UD Arena at 8 p.m., the Pickerington Central girls seeking a state championship. They are the Division I regional champion out of Columbus. So those are our games on Friday night. Saturday, we'll, of course, have a full day. We'll have the boys Division III regional final from Trent Arena. That's a game that Tri-Village and or Miami East could play in. We will have a full day at the Convocation Center at OU. The Division I final will be there. The Division II final will be there at 4 o'clock. It's Bishop Reedy. Afrocentric plays, if they win, the Division III regional final will be at 11. So they'll have games at 11, 2, 4, and 7. So a full day there. Of course, if the Tri-Village girls get past Berlin Highland, Tri-Village will play the 2 p.m. championship game. And if the Pick Central girls get past their regional, their state semifinal, Pick Central will play at 8:30, and Afrocentric's championship game in Division 3, would be at 5:15. So that's a lot of basketball. As I said, a lot of basketball and a lot of free content on Press Pros.
Honestly, I don't know how you keep all that straight. One of the things that I've noticed, I'd have to have a Prevagen drip and an IV. Yeah, there you go. There.
I'm not doing it from memory. That's for
I
sure.
wanted to see the notes. Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So otherwise, we will have. We probably will not have anything on Ohio State basketball. Although Ohio State basketball got, for a team that's not good, as favorable a draw in the Big Ten tournament as you could possibly get. They'll debut against Wisconsin on Wednesday. If they win that, they get Iowa, which is obviously a game they've already beaten Iowa once. Then they would get Michigan State, which they played Sparty tough at East Lansing this past Saturday. And if they win 3 games in 3 days, first of all, I'll eat my hat. And second of all, they would then play Purdue in the Saturday semifinals. So if you're thinking Ohio State could win 5 games in 5 days, you're a dyed-in-the-wool Buckeye fan.
Well, I'm thinking
that's not going to happen.
I'm thinking you don't have a hat to eat, so I'm not going to hold my breath.
I'll find one. And eat it.
Send you one.
If you send me one.
I'll send you one.
Exactly. Ohio State wrestling over the weekend. There was a disappointing performance the first day at the Big Ten wrestling. A better performance Sunday. I felt bad for Caleb Romero. He's clearly limited. He's got 10 days to get ready for the Nationals at Tulsa. Sammy Sasso, a wizard, won the Buckeyes' only Big Ten title. You can read about that on the OSU page, and they'll be back at it in the Nationals. They will probably qualify 9 wrestlers for Nationals. The only one who won't is Malik Heinzelman, whose career ended at 125 with an injury the week before the Big Ten. So we are covering Ohio State wrestling, and we'll have that for you. Now, to what I know you've been sitting there chomping at the bit to talk about, your Buckeye baseball team, Mr. Fulks, goes down to Frisco, Texas, and wins the Frisco Classic.
The first impression that I have is not proprietary to Ohio State. The first impression I had about what I saw this weekend were the enormous crowds they had at the Frisco Classic. I'm telling you, college baseball, and they've been saying this in the NCAA for several years now, is the fastest growing demographic of new fan base they have in NCAA sports. And I saw that this weekend because people from Mississippi State came and just packed Frisco Stadium the other night. People from Oklahoma, which is fairly close. I mean, that's not that far a drive from Norman, Oklahoma down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They brought people in force. Ohio State, by the way, and California didn't have a lot of people there because Berkeley, no one knows what sports is in Berkeley to begin with.
No, they're living in trees and protesting.
They're into trees and protesting. But that's a very good baseball team at Cal Berkeley. They've got talent on that team. But Ohio State, which always travels pretty well, and there were a lot of Ohio State people there. But I'm talking about 150 to 250 or something like that. You're talking about 5,000 people from Mississippi State who showed up to watch college baseball. So that's the first thing that excited me was how many people appreciate baseball on that level, which is very good baseball. And you saw probably 20, 25 players over the weekend from those 4 teams that are going to be drafted or going to be tomorrow's stars that you can see today for an $8 or $10 ticket at a college stadium near you. Just the overall play this weekend was very good. Oklahoma was the national runner-up last year. 2 years ago, Mississippi State won the College World Series. And it's noteworthy that Ohio State this weekend played right alongside the best in the NCAA for the last 2 years and beat them both 8-3 on Friday night, Mississippi State. And in a slugfest yesterday, they ground out 16 hits against Oklahoma with a good pitching staff to win that game 12-9 in a 3-hour and 50-minute game.
Ooh.
So it was great to see that. I'm a baseball fan. I just love the game. I love what it represents. I love the things that it represents that other sports cannot match. And we won't get into that now. But Ohio State and Bill Mosiello, I think he knows something. I think he's got something going there. I see things happening there that reflect his personality. I see some things going on that are better this year than what they did last year. Their bullpen's a mess. There's no question about it. I write about it. I'm not ashamed of it. Their bullpen can't get anybody out, with the exception of a couple guys who are beginning to emerge. Jonah Jenkins, the transfer from San Francisco, has pitched well for them consistently out of the pen. Landon Beidelshees, who just could not have had a worse night Friday night against Mississippi State. Now, he's a freshman. He's 18 years old, left-hander, throws 95 miles per hour. But they were moving people from away from the screen behind home plate when he came in on Friday night. Yesterday, he was much better, came in and closed that out against Oklahoma. So those two young men are the two people right now that they can rely on to throw strikes out of the bullpen. And their starters aren't exactly settled in yet, although Isaiah Coupe was the all-tournament selection for starting pitcher. Cade Kern from Archbold, Ohio, was the all-tournament center fielder. And my friend Tim Petterini, who I played college baseball with and against 50 years ago and holds the all-time record of wins in Division III baseball as the coach at College of Worcester. His grandson was the designated hitter on the all-tournament team. So the Buckeyes accorded themselves very well, and it was good to see. I think Bill's got something going on there, but boy, they got to find some people who can come in from the seventh inning on and throw strikes.
And they play this weekend in California.
Bakersfield, California. It's their last real long road trip in non-conference play, and we're not making that trip. I'm not making that trip because of basketball priorities here. But if they go out and play that team and can either win 2 or 3 or sweep them, they come home with a non-conference winning record. So, for all the troubles they've had of throwing strikes out of the bullpen, they've got a shot at coming back and getting into the local non-conference play with Marshall and UD and Xavier and some people like that coming up before the Big Ten season starts on March 24th in Indiana.
All right, what do we have in the Reader Speaks inbox tonight?
Well, we got one here from Rick from West Jefferson who wrote, and this just came in this morning. In fact, I saw Rick, I appreciate it, and I saw your email sitting in the airport today in Texas. He said, I enjoy the coverage you guys have of Division IV basketball, and that, of course, West Jefferson is in the Ohio Heritage Conference, so he gets to see some Division IV teams.
Yes, he does.
But he said, I wonder why nobody in your area over there can score. And he said, how much fun can it be to write about 40 to 30? And, what's the deal? Can anybody shoot the basketball anymore? Why doesn't anybody even try to score? I'll just say this, Rick. I've said this for a long time. I think to be a good shooter, you have to put up about 20,000 shots a year. I think that has to be your life's priority to be a good scorer in basketball. That's one thing. As we addressed here a few moments ago, Bruce and I did, I think the way the game is officiated anymore, if you're a small kid who has skill and a shooter, the game doesn't favor you because they're going to allow you to get roughed up and mugged. And I look, I don't care who I offend by saying that, and I have a lot of friends in officiating, and I'm an ex-official myself. 5 years in the Oklahoma City League back when the bank boards, somebody said the bank boards were wood back then. That's been so long ago. but I just don't think kids shoot enough. I think the emphasis today, and then there's coaches out there like Scott Elkert and like Jack Albers and people like that who say and have said for years, hey, look, there's nights when the rim shrinks, but defense always plays.
Right.
That's true. That is true. There's going to be nights when teams don't shoot well, but you still got to defend and find a different way to win. And I do have respect for that. But I haven't seen this year. I don't think I've seen 5 players this year that impressed me as kids who could just take over a game and win it offensively. I haven't seen anybody score 40 points this year in a basketball game. You used to see that. I used to see 30 points in a basketball game. I think I've seen it once this year. I can't even recall who it was. Now it's a big, big night if somebody scores 20, 25 points in a high school basketball game. And I think the reason is the game is there's no priority for kids to learn to shoot the ball and take over a game offensively. And if they do, they're called selfish. Coaches talk about the fact that team concept and we win as a team, we play as a team, got to defend as a team, and all these things. That's all wonderful, but it's still exciting, Rick. To your point, it's more exciting to find somebody who really has the skills that John Diebler had back in the day. I looked this up. Daquan Cook, when he was a scorer for Dayton Dunbar back in the day, people packed the gym to see those guys shoot the basketball. And they're not packing the gym anymore to see anybody shoot the basketball because kids can't.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all that. I think at the Division IV level, you got to remember a lot of these kids are multi-sport athletes.
Yes, and that's something to do with it too.
That's not always true. It's not true in the Shelby County League, but I don't know. I think the way the game's defended, it's decidedly harder to score now than it used to be because coaches do coach defense and they do play a different kind of defense, pressure defense now. The officiating plays into it. You can't get to the free throw line as much. But Jace Mollenauer had 25 the other night, got out and attacked the press. Caleb Maurer had 30 for Fort Loramie against Jackson Center in the sectionals at Garber Gymnasium there in Piqua. There's still guys who can shoot it and who can score it, but that high-level scorer that we used to see, and you'd see one every year, you'd see a couple every year. I agree. That's kind of a vanishing thing in high school basketball, and I don't think the sport is necessarily better for it. So I don't know what the solution is. I just know that his premise is not really flawed. That is exactly how it is. Anything else?
I remember Dave Zeller when he was a coach at Piqua, and a lot of people respected Z. He was a basketball savant of his day. And he said, people pay to see you put the thing in the ring. That's the name of the game. But it's not the name of the game anymore. It's pressure defense, as you said. It's a little thuggery. Mm-hmm. If you take the basketball to the rim down the lane, you may get there without your head and a call, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll justify some reason, it was all ball at the top while you wiped him out from the waist down. And we just can't have a parade to the foul line. You'll hear that.
Yeah, of course.
Justify that. But it's still a foul because it's contacted, and it's just like you said. The reason there was a traveling call is because he was fouled before the traveling call.
Right.
So
yeah, we had a game in the girls' semi. We had a game last year in the girls' state semifinals with 52 turnovers. Kettering Alter and Bishop Hartley, 2 teams that won their regional, so they had good guard play, and they had 52 turnovers in a girls' state semifinal, and that's simply because they allowed all kinds of bumping and thumping on the ball and off the ball and knocking girls off balance. So they didn't have any chance to keep their dribble. And they turned what could have been a really good high-level basketball game into, Darwin's thesis, survival of the fittest. And that's not what basketball is supposed to be. And I hope someday the OHSAA figures that out.
You watch for 2 things if you go to regional basketball this weekend, you're going to see. It's always been a point of emphasis. I've heard this until my head spins like Linda Blair's. Every year, we're not going to allow hand checking or steering of the ball handler by the defensive player. By week 3, that's out the window and forgotten like last year's wheat. It's just gone. Yeah. And it's you see that. You see that every night when the ball handler, they got hands all over the ball handler, and he's getting steered away from his path to the rim. That's one thing, and the other thing is turning the ball, palming the ball. The way they dribble now, and that's technically, that is traveling. The Euro step now has found its way into high school basketball, and everybody's excited about the Euro step because it gives kids an advantage to try to get to the rim and score. Well, of course it is. It's traveling. It is. It's traveling like it is in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, in a large part, that LeBron James has scored 74,000 points in the NBA is because he travels every night and they never call it.
Yeah.
You're going to see that this weekend.
Yep.
Mark my word, write in, let us know if we're not correct. And if we're not, Bruce will eat his hat.
I will eat my hat. I will find a hat and I will eat it for sure.
Yes.
Anything else from our outstanding Press Pros magazine readers?
I am done tonight. I'm telling you, I could use a good night's sleep.
All right.
Long weekend in Dallas.
Well, so could I. And so let's make that happen. We thank all you guys for watching. We hope you are following us on Twitter at Press Pros Mag, Instagram, Press Pros Magazine. Of course, our Facebook page, just search Press Pros Magazine. We'll see you out and about tomorrow night. Mr. Fulks will be at Marion Local. I'll be at Jackson Center Patriot Prep, Troy Christian Ruscia. We love Ruscia. We love to have you guys come up and say hello. I'll see you Tri-Village fans. And Sonny and I will be together on Wednesday night at Kettering. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we got it all covered. So
I will say this, because our basketball numbers, our readership metrics are off the wall. They're just fantastic, and we appreciate the number of people who write to us and send us notes and texts and emails and say, hey, thanks for being there. You guys do a great job. We really like the stories, and the kindness that you show by following and supporting the site is just tremendous. And we appreciate that, and the fact that the number of people who notice and support area sports just through reading. There's a lot of people who still like to read. It's not all on a 20-second video clip on your phone. People still like to read the written word and the still pictures and everything that we do. So
we appreciate when you share our content and let your friends around the state know that Press Pros exists. And
for free.
For free. That's right. You never pay for any content at Press Pros, and that is thanks to our great sponsors, many of whom you have seen noted on the crawl below our conversation tonight. This video will be placed on the front page at PressProsMagazine.com shortly, so you'll be able to direct your friends to it if they missed it. And with that, we will bid you adieu. See you out at the games this weekend, and thank you for your time tonight. Everybody have a great night.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah.